was so proudly we hailed at the twilight last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does the star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Those present non-commissioned officers.
No, Sergeant Major. We have invited guests per your invitation and 4 junior enlisted soldiers.
Soldiers, state your purpose for being here.
Sergeant Major, we have a request.
Soldiers, state your request. Hold your request and take a seat. Sergeant of Arms, close the doors and ensure no one leaves nor enters.
Yes, Sergeant Major.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the small table to the right. The military cast is filled with symbolism. This table is our way of acknowledging that members of our proud profession of arms are missing from our midst. They are POWs and MIAs. We call them brothers. They are unable to be with us today, so we remember them because of their sacrifices. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. The single rose in the vase reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep faith, awaiting for their return. The red ribbon, tied so prominently on the vase, is reminiscent of the red ribbon worn upon the lapel and breast of thousands who bear witness to their underlying determination to demand a proper accounting of our missing. A slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate. The salt is symbolic of the tears as they wait. The glass is inverted. He cannot toast with us today. The chair is empty. He is not here. Remember, all of you who served with them and called them comrade, who depended upon their might and aid and relied upon them, for surely they have not forgotten you. Having been selected, trained, and duly promoted to the rank of sergeant, they now face another transition, their induction into the Non-Commissioned Officer Corps. For being a non-commissioned officer is more than acquiring skills, passing boards, and completing courses. It is a change of mindset. We move from worrying about ourselves to mentoring, training, guiding, leading, and taking care of soldiers whose lives we have been entrusted with. We put their needs and welfare before our own. We uphold traditions, dignity, and high standards. We willingly accept responsibility for the good or bad of those under our supervision. We possess the moral courage to correct what is wrong and recognize our soldiers for their accomplishments. We strive to develop our soldiers into aspiring soldiers of the Army, the community, and the nation. This metamorphosis from a follower to a leader is required to become a link in the backbone of the Army. I am a corps. Advise the commander and help train all junior enlisted soldiers. I assist officers at the company level, which has about 62 to 190 soldiers.
I am a first sergeant.
I am a sergeant major. I have experience and abilities equal to that of the command sergeant major, but the sphere of influence regarding leadership is generally limited to those directly under my charge. I assist officers at the battalion level, which has about 300 to 1,000 soldiers.
I am a sergeant major.
I am a command sergeant major. I function without supervision, and my counsel is expected to be calm, settled, and accurate, with unflagging enthusiasm. I provide recommendations to the commander and staff, and I carry out policies and standards on the performance, training, and appearance and conduct of enlisted personnel. I assist officers at the brigade level of about 3,000 to 5,000 soldiers.
I am a command sergeant major.
There is only one sergeant major of the Army. His rank is the epitome of what it means to be a sergeant and oversees all non-commissioned officers in the entire U.S. Army. He serves as the senior enlisted advisor and consultant to the Chief of Staff of the Army.
We are back on the Army. Ready? Face. Forward.
With the lighting of this candle, we are reminded of the non-commissioned officers that came before us, the ones that led our forefathers to victory, therefore preserving our rights and freedom. With the eternal flame, there are no rules, no regulation, only a silent pact with our forefathers to train and protect their sons and daughters so they can ensure our children's children have a future.
The red candle represents the blood that we have shed in defense of our great nation.
Non-commissioned officer.
The white candle represents our dedication to honesty and integrity in both word and deed.
First Sergeant Ruiz will light the blue candle, symbolizing the valor and pride of the non-commissioned officer.
The blue candle represents all the wars that we have fought across the waters.
The important role non-commissioned officers have played throughout military history and must continue to play for years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, Command Sergeant Major Garner will now introduce our guest speaker.
Good afternoon, commanders, officers, Command Sergeant Major McCrae, Command Sergeant Major James, Mr. Terry, distinguished guests, soldiers, and non-commissioned officers. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend this momentous occasion as we induct 34 NCOs into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers, as well as the presentation of the Sergeant Audie Murphy Award and the General Pack Award. And when you have a ceremony this prestigious, you must get the most distinguished guest speaker you can possibly find. Our guest speaker today needs no introduction because he's a regular celebrity on the Armed Forces Network, and you've all seen Sergeant Major Says. I'm not going to read his bio because that would take all day, but it is in your program. But in his over 30 years of service to our nation, over 10 of which is as a Sergeant Major, rest assured that he has served in every staff, broadening, and leadership position possible. He is currently the senior enlisted leader in all of Korea, and he currently serves as the United Nations Command Sergeant Major, the Combined Forces Command Sergeant Major, and our very own United States Forces Korea Command Sergeant Major. Please join me in a warm welcome for Command Sergeant Major Steven L. Payton.
So how's everybody doing today? Sergeant Major Gardner, and to you and your commander, thank you very much for giving me this awesome opportunity to share this day with our non-commissioned officers and leaders here in MedCom and across the peninsula. It's an exceptional honor to have the opportunity to get this close to Hools and be able to share some of your thoughts. So you've identified all of our distinguished guests, our fellow sergeants major. Didn't I see Colonel Shore come in today, sir? You still here? Good deal. How many officers do we have out there that you give our non-commissioned officers in everything that it is that we do? So let's give them a round of applause. When they told me I had the opportunity to come out and give a speech today, I said, well, you know, it's not very often you get a chance to give a speech to young hooers. When I talk about young hooers, I'm talking about you out here. Who? So I sat down behind my computer, and that will provide a little leeway for you to go out and do great things or continue to do great things. So on this one card, I jotted down a couple of things that I wanted to allude to for you. And a lot of you probably have questions about it, all right? And the things that I'll discuss with you is leadership, trust, opportunity, and the art and science of standards and discipline. Who? So when we talk about leadership, with opportunity, that sometimes it knocks more than once. Sometimes opportunity knocks more than once. Sometimes. Don't risk it. So take advantage of every opportunity that you get, right? Never miss the chance when you have an opportunity to excel, to do that. Opportunity knocks more than once sometimes now. Why? Because we're a resilient force, compassionate force. We understand that our service members make mistakes. Sometimes we have to give them old chest punch and put them on their back. But what's the most important thing about doing that, boo? Being willing to reach down and stand them right back up. Opportunity just knocked the second time, didn't it? That's what we're charged to do as non-commissioned officers. Develop each other, develop our young hoopers, and use the experiences that we have to continue to develop our young officers. Who? Don't get that out of your mind. Don't think that you don't. You do. Who? Let me tell you what standards and discipline are. Standards and discipline are the lifeblood, the heart and soul of everything that we do. Standards and discipline. We had an old motto back in the 1805 Brigade. I say who? And on the crest it read, sweat saves blood. It starts with standards. And your willingness as a non-commissioned officer to know what that standard is, to achieve and when possible exceed that standard, to share and explain and teach and ingrain in your subordinates and your peers, your brothers and sisters to your left and right, front and rear, to ingrain those standards in them. Because when you know what they are and you strive to achieve them, we can get it done as a team. Execute their duties with those young hoopers that they lead. So never take for granted your responsibilities. Never take for granted how much it means to be a non-commissioned officer. And I know that you don't. I know that you don't. But I want to reinforce to you, our newest and youngest non-commissioned officer here on Peninsula anyway, that the senior leaders that you have in the room, some of them old, we have our fullest confidence that you can get it done. Or you wouldn't be sitting here today. Who? But every great leader strives for perfection. They never get there. But in trying to get there, he or she is doing a whole lot of good along the way. As long as you're shoring up those to your front and rear, to your left and right, taking care of them, there's no way we can lose. Who? I appreciate your time, young hoopers. Stay after it. Go out there and get after it. My door is always open. If you see me on the street, you see me running PT, you got a question or you got a statement, give it to me. I learn from you every day. Who? Thanks for your time.
I, Sergeant Major Anderson, will sponsor Sergeant Arthur into the NCO Corps. Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Sergeant First Class 1, will sponsor Sergeant Atkins into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Reese, will sponsor Sergeant Payton to the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Matt, would like to sponsor Sergeant Batista in the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Hughes, would like to sponsor Sergeant Boyne-Terry into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Laura, will sponsor Corporal Vogue into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Sergeant Ross, will sponsor Sergeant Booth into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, First Sergeant Ruiz, recommend Sergeant Clay to be inducted into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Carroll, will recommend Sergeant Dean into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Sergeant First Class Parker, sponsor Sergeant Glass into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. This non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps.
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Lee, would like to sponsor Sergeant Goff into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Lord, recommends that Sergeant Hunt be inducted into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. This non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps.
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Boyle, would like to sponsor Sergeant Herbert into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who would like to sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Waits, will sponsor Sergeant Chin into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Commissioned officer into the NCO Corps.
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Lord, will sponsor Sergeant Johnson into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Lord, will sponsor Sergeant Young into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Sergeant Booth, will sponsor Sergeant Cake into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Boyle, would like to sponsor Sergeant Leventhal into the NCO Corps.
Advanced to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Sergeant First Class Kennedy, sponsor Sergeant Lintag
to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major I, Staff Sergeant Waits, will sponsor Sergeant Lord into the NCO Corps.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Reese, will sponsor Sergeant Payton into the NCO Corps.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major I, Sergeant Boss, will sponsor Sergeant McEwen into the NCO Corps.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Cruz, would like to sponsor Sergeant Medina into the NCO Corps.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Master Sergeant Duanis, will sponsor Sergeant Medina into the Non-Commissioned Officer Corps.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major I, Staff Sergeant Waits, will sponsor Sergeant Mulligan into the NCO Corps.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major I, First Sergeant George, sponsor Sergeant Nadeau in the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Into the NCO Corps.
Sergeant Major I, Staff Sergeant Waits, will sponsor Sergeant Machine into the NCO Corps.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Master Sergeant Duanis, will sponsor Sergeant Pace into the Non-Commissioned Officer Corps.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Wright, sponsor Sergeant Paredes to be inducted into the NCO Corps.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. This non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps.
Sergeant Major, I, Sergeant First Class Perkins, sponsors Sergeant Park into the NCO Corps.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Judah Cruz, will sponsor Sergeant Park at the NCO Corps.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers?
Sergeant Major, I, Staff Sergeant Reese, will sponsor Sergeant Solis Diaz into the NCO Corps.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. Who will sponsor this non-commissioned officer into the NCO Corps?
Sergeant Major I, First Sergeant George, sponsor Sergeant Wright into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers.
Advance to be inducted into the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers. I state diligently,
We discharge carefully and diligently
the duties of the grade to which I have been promoted,
the duties of the grade to which I have been promoted,
and uphold the traditions and standards of the Army.
and uphold the traditions and standards of the Army.
I understand soldiers of lesser rank
I understand soldiers of lesser rank
are required to obey my lawful orders.
are required to obey my lawful orders.
Accordingly, I accept responsibility for their actions.
Responsibility for their actions.
As a non-commissioned officer,
As a non-commissioned officer,
I accept the charge to observe and follow
I accept the charge to observe and follow
the orders and directions given by supervisors
the orders and directions given
my supervisors,
acting according to laws, articles, and rules,
acting according to laws, articles, and rules,
governing the discipline of the Army.
governing the discipline of the Army.
I will correct conditions
Detrimental
to the readiness thereof.
detrimental to the readiness thereof.
In so doing,
I
will fulfill my greatest responsibility as a leader,
will fulfill my greatest responsibility as a leader,
and thereby confirm my status
as
a non-commissioned officer.
a non-commissioned officer.
Arms downward, move. Take seats. This time I mean it. State your request.
Treat me with respect, Sergeant, for no heart in all the world is more loyal than the heart of an American soldier. Do not beat my spirits with your words, Sergeant, for though I will do what you demand, your guidance, patience, and understanding will more quickly teach me to be, know, and do.
Speak with me often, Sergeant, for the praise and counseling you give is expected. I'm an American soldier, expecting to be trained. Discipline must be a part of my life. Train me for the elements, Sergeant, for I must learn to fight and win in the cold, the wet, and the desert. For those who would be enemies will use these elements, I must be prepared.
And to defend our country and our way of life against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Allow me the privilege, Sergeant. Train me. Provide me the necessities of food and drink, Sergeant. Train me to be self-sufficient, that I may lead the way and stand ready, willing and able to protect you, wait my life if necessary, should your life be in danger.
Sergeant, then one day I too can be Corps Sergeant. Trainer of a soldier, backbone of the Army. Train me to accept those responsibilities that are yours. Train me to train my soldier to be a greatest defender of freedom in the world. Sergeant, train me to be a sergeant. I shall leave this Army knowing with my last step and my last breath that my fate was always safely in your hands. Sergeant, train me that I too can own the title Sergeant.
Please stand and respond to the soldier's request.
The creed of the non-commissioned officers. No one is more professional than I am a non-commissioned officer, a leader of soldiers. As a non-commissioned officer, I realize I'm a member of a time-honored corps, which is known as the backbone of the Army. I am proud of the Corps of non-commissioned officers, and will at all times conduct myself so as to bring credit upon the Corps, the military service, and my country, regardless of the situation in which I find myself. I will not use my grade or position to obtain pleasure, profit, or personal safety. Confidence is my watchword. My two basic responsibilities will always be uppermost in my mind: the accomplishment of my mission and the welfare of my soldiers. I will strive to remain technically and tactically proficient. I am aware of my role as a non-commissioned officer. I will fulfill my responsibilities inherent in that role. All soldiers are entitled to outstanding leadership. I will provide that leadership. I know my soldiers and all of their needs of my own. I will communicate consistently with my soldiers and never leave them uninformed. I will be fair and impartial, recommending both rewards and punishments. Officers will not leave without maximum time to accomplish their duties. They will not have to accomplish mine. I will earn their respect and confidence as well as that of my soldiers. I will be loyal to those whom I serve, seniors, peers, and subordinates alike. I will exercise initiative by taking appropriate action in the absence of orders. I will not compromise my integrity nor my moral courage. I will not forget, nor will I allow my comrades to forget, that we are professionals, non-commissioned officers, leaders.
Commissioned officers with a round of applause.
Biography reads more like fiction than fact. He lived only 46 years, but he made a lasting imprint on American history. Audie was born on a sharecropper's farm in northern Texas on June 20th, 1924. As a boy, he chopped cotton for $1 a day and was noted for his feats of daring do and his accuracy with a gun. He had only 5 years of schooling and was orphaned at age 16. After being refused enlistment during World War II in both the Marines and paratroopers for being too small, 5 foot 5 inches, and underweight, 110 pounds, he enlisted in the U.S. Army a few days after his 18th birthday. After basic training at Camp Walters, Texas, and advanced training at Fort George G. Meade, Maryland, Audie was sent overseas. He was assigned to the famous 15th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division, where he fought in North Africa, Sicily, Italy, France, and Germany. He earned a battlefield commission for his courage and leadership ability, as well as citations and decorations, including every medal for valor that America gives. He was also awarded 3 French and 1 Belgian medal. Lieutenant Audie Murphy was the highest decorated soldier in American history. Discharged from the Army on September 21st, 1945, Audie went to Hollywood at the invitation of movie star James Cagney. He remained in California for the rest of his life and was closely associated with the movie industry, both as an actor and a producer. He acted in 44 films, starring in 39 of them. His best-known film was To Hell and Back, adopted from the best-selling book of his war experiences by the same name. Most of his movies were westerns. In 1955, Audie Murphy was voted the most popular Western actor in America by the Motion Picture Exhibitors. Audie wrote the lyrics to 16 country and Western songs, the most popular of which was Shutters and Boards, written with Scott Turner in 1962. The song was recorded by over 30 pop singers, including Jerry Wallace, Dean Martin, and Porter Wagoner. He was an accomplished poet. Unfortunately, only a few of his poems have survived. In 1950, Audie joined the 36th Infantry Division T-Patchers of the Texas National Guard and served with it until 1966. He was a Mason and a Shriner and belonged to several veterans organizations. Audie Murphy was killed in a plane crash on a mountaintop near Roanoke, Virginia on May 28, 1971. Fittingly, his body was recovered 2 days later on Memorial Day. Audie Murphy was an American war hero. He was one of the greatest combat soldiers in the 200-year-plus history of the United States.
Sergeant First Class Tamika Horn from HHB 8th Army will receive the Sergeant Audie Murphy Leadership Award. And Corporal Don Su from 618th Dental Company, 65th Medical Brigade, will receive the General Pack Leadership Award. Sponsors will now present their inductees.
Sergeant First Class Horn hails from Anson County, North Carolina. She's a valuable member of the 8th Army Inspector General's team, where she serves as the Inspections NCOIC. She's a mission first leader. She's dedicated, loyal, and most especially, she's very professional. In other words, she's the epitome of be, know, and do. I now present Sergeant First Class Tamika E. Horn.
Corporal Tan Su was born in Dokkum, Germany, November 8, 1987. During his time in Germany, he attended the Langenloh Elementary School, where he practiced piano and he competed professionally. He returned to Korea in 2000, where he graduated from middle school and from his foreign language school in high school. After he finished high school, he returned back to Germany, where he completed his bachelor's degrees in business administration and international law. He later received his master's degrees in both of those subjects. He joined the Rock Army in May of 2016, even though he had the opportunity to obtain his German and Austrian citizenship. He instead chose to serve his country of Korea with pride. After completing the Rock Basic Training and the Katusa Training Academy, Corporal Seoul was assigned to the 65th Medical Brigade, 618th Dental Company, Area 4 Camp Carroll Dental Clinic. He currently serves as the clinic administrator and the senior Katusa. Corporal Seoul is the 4th consecutive Katusa for the Camp Carroll Dental Clinic to earn this award. He looks to continue this lineage by training the next senior Katusa to earn the same award. I present to you Corporal
Tan-soo.
In addition to their medallions and plaques, the inductees will also receive an arrangement of AAFES gift certificates, along with a personalized plaque and complimentary membership from the Non-Commissioned Officer Association. Special thanks to Mr. Joe Terry and the Non-Commissioned Officer Association Dragon Hill Chapter for their sponsorship.
Leading an inspiration as the guest speaker during the 65th Medical Brigade Non-Commissioned Officer Sergeant Audie Murphy Club induction ceremony. Your words of wisdom and shared experiences will ensure the newly inducted sergeants are fully prepared to execute their roles as the present and future heartbeat of the Army. Wow.
Hey, I just want to say you all have done an amazing job here. This is one of the very events that I've had the privilege of attending. So Sergeant Major Gardner, Sergeant First Class Good, and the entire team, amazing. Place looks amazing, and absolutely amazing layout, the way you conducted it. And I would say that this is the example. We got Sergeant Major James in the front. He had his phone out for a minute, so he recorded to pass it on to the next person. So, outstanding job.
Please stand for the benediction, the playing of the 8th Army and Army songs, and remain standing for the departure of today's
8th Army strong. We are ever strong and getting stronger. Kachikapshikon. Training side by side. Ready to fight tonight. Soldier on, like the warriors of old. Soldier on, in the face of bitter cold. Soldier on, as the heroes have before us, because we're 8th Army strong. March along, sing our song, with the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, fought to victory. We're the Army and proud of our name. We're the Army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might. And the Army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won. And the Army goes rolling along. And it's high, high, the Army's on its way. Count off the gate and stop and strong. For where we go, you will always know that the Army goes rolling along.
Lord God, we thank you for your soothing.
Strong. We are ever strong and getting stronger. marching on, training side by side, ready to fight tonight. Soldier on, like the warriors of old. Soldier on, in the face of bitter cold. Soldier on, as the heroes have before us, because we're a army strong. March along, sing our song, with the army of the free. Count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might. And the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won. And the army goes rolling along. And it's high, how I hate, the army's on its way. Count off the gate and stop and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along. March along, sing our song, with the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might. And the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won. And the army goes rolling along. And it's high, how I hate, the army's on its way. Count off the gate and stop and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know